time you were here in China for a car commercial.
Yes.
Are you a sensible driver?
I try to be. Actually, since we started shooting Prison Break, I have a lot more respect for the law and for obeying the rules and regulations. But I am someone who loves to drive. And the first season we shot the show in Chicago, and the second season we were in Dallas, Texas. And at the beginning and the end of each season, I would drive from Los Angeles, California, to these different spots. And that road trip, which usually took a week and a half, was a kind of therapy. It was a way of thinking about where I was going, thinking about what I was leaving behind, preparing for the next chapter. So for me, the opportunity to get behind the wheel, you have your favorite stations and maybe your favorite snacks, riding shotgun.
What kind of snacks?
I like Dunkin' Donuts, little munchkins.
Oh,
yeah.
I love those.
And anything with sugar, basically.
Really?
Yeah.
That's not healthy at all.
I have a terrible sweet tooth.
I thought you must be very health conscious, that kind of guy.
Not as much as you might think.
Really?
Yeah, I do love the sweets. So it's important, important as I grow older, to balance that with some vegetables, some exercise, to have everything in moderation. I think that's the idea.
Yeah. On those road trips, what kind of music did you listen to, or do you just sing along with the music?
I do tend to sing along if I know the song. I'm a fan of all kinds of music. I like classical, country, pop, rock, alternative, pretty much anything you can name. And it's nice to have a particular song that's playing at a particular time in your life. Something that's kind of like the background to a moment or an experience, and then years later you hear that song and the experience, the moment comes back to you. I think music can be very powerful in that way. It's how we sort of chart the course of our lives.
Not any particular Chinese song?
Not yet, although I've been exposed to more and more Chinese music since I've been here.
I know that you're a great singer. A baritone, actually.
Well, back in the day, yes, I was a baritone. Thank you.
Can we play one of his songs, please?
Oh, dear.
I listened to it the other day. It was pretty good.
And if the next thing is you asking me to sing, I'm not going to. I'll tell you that
well, you never know.
I hate to disappoint.
Please play one of the...请把那歌放一下好吗？我们的音响师可能不懂英语。That's you, right?
Yes.
Look at the picture. Oh! Not bad.
Thank you.
Oh. 哪个是他？最后边那个吧，从这边数第二个吧。Yes, that's him. They have a great voice. I'm not going to ask you to sing if you don't want to, but I have to say you have a great voice.
Thank you.
Why not have a professional singing career? You can make pretty good one, I think.
I appreciate you saying that. It's something I've thought about purely as a fantasy. But at the time when I was singing more consistently back in college, I really didn't think I could make a living at it. It seemed like an impossible dream, even crazier than acting. So something that I let go of after I graduated from college.
Is your father or mother a great singer as well?
Neither of them can carry a tune, actually. So I don't know where I get my singing ability.
Really? Is your father as good looking as you?
I think we do look very much alike. And I also look very much like my mom. It depends on who I'm with. That's the person they say that I look most like.
Can I have those? 可以把那几个卡给我吗? Because I've read somewhere in the magazine, it's an interview your father did like 3-4 years ago.
That my father did?
Yeah. And the reporter asked, so One more question, a personal one, if you don't mind. Your first name is Wentworth, pretty unusual. There is an actor, Wentworth Miller, the lead in a new series on Fox, Prison Break. He's up for a Golden Globe. Also, I think he was in The Human Stain. Any relation? And your father said, so glad you asked. Always looking to slip that little aspect in. And then he said, of course, he isn't quite as handsome as the dad. But he's very talented. I'm thinking I may be able to retire before long if things continue to progress. Anyone reading this, be sure to catch Prison Break when it returns on Fox in late March. Great show, if somewhat violent.
Yes.
He's a funny guy.
He is a funny guy. He's a proud papa. He's a proud papa.
I'm sure he must be very proud of you.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
Is he a huge fan?
He is. It's one of the great things about being on a TV show is that my parents get to see me at least once a week, even though I'm living thousands of miles away. The only thing is that if I know that something terrible is going to happen to Michael, I have to call my mom and tell her beforehand to brace herself. Otherwise, she gets a little upset.
But terrible things happen to Michael almost every day.
Yep, so I'm always calling her.
Mom, I'm sorry to tell you this.
I'm warning her every week.
But he's going to get hurt again.
Yeah.
Gee. Well, speaking of your father, I think he might be, I assume that he might be the first person who made you think that maybe someday I'm going to become an actor, right?
I think you're right, actually. It's very much something that began in my relationship with my father. When I was in kindergarten, just 7 or 8 years old, we had what they call an annual dinosaur play at school, and we were all responsible for crafting our own costumes. So my father and I spent 3 weeks making from scratch a Tyrannosaurus Rex costume. It was a big papier-mâché headpiece that was maybe twice my body weight with the fangs and the eyes, and it was really quite impressive.
Wow.
Every other kid in class had a paper bag over their head, but I had this professionally made Tyrannosaurus Rex costume. And the day of the play, I tottered out on stage, kind of teetering under the weight of this thing, and the audience burst into applause. And I remember thinking in that moment that there's a very special relationship that happens, a kind of intimacy between an audience and a performer. And it's got a kind of electricity, a kind of chemistry, and I knew I would never be able to find that anywhere else. So the seeds were planted even then.
Yeah. So I think your father is very, how do I say, artistic?
He does have some artistic talent.
Yeah, I think so.
That's true.
So he can draw and you can draw, right?
That's right. That's right.
Wow.
So when my father had his initial misgivings about my decision to become an actor, I would remind him that it's really his fault. He's the one who got the whole thing started.
So it was like maybe 10 years ago, he said, Dad, I'm going to become an actor.
There was that phone call, and it kind of went off like a little bit of a bomb, because I'd gone to college and I'd majored in English literature. I'd moved out to Los Angeles to work within the entertainment industry, but I hadn't yet admitted to myself that acting was really what I wanted to do. It just seemed too scary, too risky. But I eventually realized that I never wanted to have that what-if question. I didn't want to be haunted by doubts. I didn't want to be haunted by regrets. So I made the decision to become an actor. I called up my parents and I told them what I was going to do. And because they're both teachers, they come from very traditional fields, they didn't know anything about the entertainment industry. They didn't know what it meant to be an actor, so they had their fears for me. They had their concerns, mostly about how I was going to pay the rent. But it was a battle for them at first, because they wanted to support me, of course, because they knew how much this meant to me. But at the same time, they had their reservations. Fortunately, I've been successful in this business, and they've been able to appreciate the success that I've achieved for myself. And I feel very lucky that I've always had, whatever their misgivings, their support.
What was their first reaction when they heard that you were going to become an actor? Like silence?
Silence, surprise.